Good morning, Faith Family. Today we begin a three-part series in Psalm 90, one of my favorite psalms. It contains my favorite verse of all Scripture. Psalm 90:14 says, "Satisfy us in the morning with your unfailing love, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days." Psalm 90 is the only psalm that was written by Moses. The title of the psalm says, "A Prayer of Moses, the Man of God." And we know that he would have written this psalm, which contains quite a bit of lament, a community lament over the judgment that the people of God were experiencing during the wilderness. Moses had a nomadic lifestyle, started in a basket on a river, floating down the Nile, 40 years in the palace of Pharaoh, 40 years in the backside of the desert, 40 years leading the people of God through the wilderness. And yet in all of that time, he's able to start the psalm out this way. "Lord, through all the generations, you have been our home. Before the mountains were born, before you gave birth to the earth and the world from beginning to end, you are God." Moses starts the psalm talking about the eternal nature of God, and he would have known better than anyone because at the burning bush, he met the God who said, "I am that I am." And yet this great, eternal, transcendent God, Moses knew face to face as a man talks with his friend. And all the changes and the inconsistencies in Moses' life, he could say that God was his dwelling place, was his home. And to point even more to understanding the eternal nature of God, he goes through this rapid fire of metaphors to talk about the fragility, the brevity of man. Here he says, "You turn people back to dust, saying, 'Return to dust, you mortals. For you 1,000 years are a passing day, as brief as a few night hours. You sweep people away like dreams that disappear. They are like grass that springs up in the morning. In the morning it blooms and flourishes, but by evening it is dry and withered." In contrast to the eternal God on our own, we are very brief. Our life is like grass that springs up and then withers by the end of the day. And the response that we're supposed to get, I think, out of this comparison between us and God is one of humility. That the psalm goes on to talk about teaching us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. It's my prayer as we walk through this psalm that we'll be amazed that the ever-consistent God who was and is to come is our dwelling place. He's our home. He's not just transcendent. He's close to us and intimate. And through him, even though our days are brief, we can have the confidence of life eternal with him.